We'll hear from an area health department about COVID-19 vaccination rates in southeast Kansas.
President Biden is committed to increasing the global supply of COVID vaccine doses. I'm Skylar Henry with more on the administration's plans and some highlights from the president's European trip.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Crawford County, Kansas is ahead of the state average when it comes to COVID-19 vaccinations. This is KOAM News at 5. The director of the Crawford County Health Department says 50% of the county's population has been vaccinated against the coronavirus, which is 7% higher than the statewide rate. She credits her team at the health department as well as those holding vaccination clinics like the Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas and local pharmacies. And the health department director also has a message for anyone who's on the fence about getting vaccinated.
Do your research and look at it, but also consider that you don't want to expose maybe elderly grandparents, other loved ones that you spend time with, and also lost wages are hard to make up, lost school days are hard to make up. So do your research and get vaccinated.
Coming up at 6, you're going to learn which age group the Crawford County Health Department would most like to see improve its vaccination rate. An FDA advisory panel met today to discuss the use of the COVID-19 vaccine in young children. The meeting comes the same day Moderna announced it's formally asked the FDA to expand emergency use of its vaccine for 12 to 17-year-olds. Last month, Pfizer became the first COVID vaccine available for that age group. Also, the CDC today reported that regular childhood vaccinations fell substantially between March and May of last year. Checking in with Nick Kelly. It's still kind of hot and muggy out there, Nick.
But at the plus side, Dow, it didn't result in any random scattered showers or thunderstorms. So we kept dry for much of the day, looking dry right now from our vantage point on the east side of Joplin. Not seeing a thing on the radar right now, but with partly cloudy skies around tonight and maybe a bit of a drop in temperatures, I wouldn't be surprised if that resulted in a random shower or storm to start the overnight hours out. But it's these thunderstorms I'm watching, not just the ones firing up in the northern plains and the eastern Rockies, but eventually we'll see more storms fire up in South Dakota and Nebraska. Those are storms we're keeping an eye on as we go into our Friday. In the short term, we're in the lower 90s. That's what it says in the thermometer, at least. You factor in the humidity, it feels like the upper 90s to near 100. We're quiet to start the evening out. A couple of random showers, maybe random storm overnight, but ultimately Dow will drop lows back into the mid 70s. And we'll focus on our thunderstorm chances tomorrow because they could pack some strong to severe thunderstorms with it. We'll break that down the rest of the forecast.
All right, catch you then. Thanks, Nick. The world's largest meat processing company, JBS, says it paid an $11 million ransom as part of its recent high-profile cyber attack. The FBI has attributed the attack to R-Evil, a Russian-speaking gang that has made some of the largest ransomware demands on record. Earlier this week, the Justice Department announced it recovered most of a $4.4 million ransom payment made by Colonial Pipeline. President Biden is in the United Kingdom on the second day of his first overseas trip since taking office. The 8-day visit includes the G7 summit and a sit-down meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Reporter Skylar Henry has more on the president's history-making week.
President Biden made his last statement of the day in Cornwall, England, to announce the U.S. will provide 500 million Pfizer vaccine doses to low-income countries around the world.
This is about our responsibility, our humanitarian obligation to save as many lives as we can.
The doses will cost $3.5 billion. President Biden says the U.S. will start delivering the first 200 million doses in August. The additional 300 million will be shipped next year.
We're doing this to save lives, to end this pandemic. That's it. Period.
We're excited to see you. Earlier in the day, the president met with British Prime Minister Boris Johnson for more than an hour. They discussed easing coronavirus travel restrictions between the two countries and signed a new Atlantic Charter.
We affirmed the special relationship, as is not said lightly, the special relationship between our people.
The president still has the most important meetings of this trip ahead of him. The G7 summit begins tomorrow, and he's scheduled to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin next week. The First Lady says he's ready.
Oh my gosh, he's over-prepared.
Inside this manor house overlooking Lake Geneva in Switzerland, The president plans to discuss cyber attacks with President Putin, as well as arms control, the Ukraine, and climate change. Skyler Henry, CBS News, the White House.
President Biden will also meet Queen Elizabeth and attend a NATO summit while overseas. The son of legendary University of Michigan football coach Bo Schembechler says he was a victim of sexual abuse at the hands of team doctor Robert Anderson, who worked at the school for nearly 40 years. In a series of lawsuits against the university, nearly 900 men have said they were molested by Anderson, who died in 2008. An investigation commissioned by the university confirmed the abuse and called it particularly disturbing that no one at the university took action. An Arkansas woman is suing an Arkansas State police officer who she says negligently performed a pursuit intervention technique, or pit maneuver, that caused her car to flip over on the highway at 60 miles an hour. Dashcam video shows the incident that happened last July. The officer says he was stopping a speeding driver who was not pulling over. The driver, who was pregnant at the time, says there was not a safe place to pull over, so she was waiting for the exit. The woman's baby is okay and is now 4 months old. Still ahead, a breakdown of consumer prices as inflation continues to rise. And next in Health Watch, how a new app is intended to reduce the stigma around mental illness. The number of Americans with diabetes who have their blood sugar under control is declining. Johns Hopkins study shows the proportion of diabetics with glycemic control dropped about 7 percentage points during an 11-year period. More than 34 million Americans have diabetes. Obesity patients who discuss weight loss surgery with their doctors are 10 times more likely to undergo the operation and lose more weight than those who do not. But researchers from Brigham and Women's Hospital say fewer than 10% of eligible patients have that conversation with their healthcare provider. About 3/4 of all mental illness cases begin by age 24. And stigma is the number one reason why people don't seek help. But two friends from the University of Michigan are trying to change that. There's a mental health crisis on college campuses, and friends Drew Pilot and Jack Cornett are trying to help. They created a gamified app called Wellnest. Its goal? To tackle mental health issues through mindfulness in a fun way.
So we think that if we can make mindfulness more fun and engaging, that it will help people actually start doing it so that they can start working on their mental health like they do their physical health.
The two work with cognitive scientists to evolve the app's features. There are things like a mood check, a daily conversation, and voice journaling.
Today I'm feeling a little anxious.
User Mac Riallo opens it up almost daily.
I struggle with mental health on my own daily basis, and there are times that I even struggle with expressing it to other people. So Wellness offers me the space to be able to reflect and share my thoughts and emotions.
According to Inside Higher Ed, 3 in 5 students are worried about their mental health, and 6 in 10 who sought help said it was difficult to find. The creators say Wellnest fills that void, and it's as simple as opening up apps like YouTube, Netflix, and TikTok.
These people who might be struggling with just day-to-day things that everyone struggles with, our app has been able to make a big improvement in their life, make them feel better about things.
Downloading the app is free, but can pay dividends for a lifetime. Drew and Jack are working with video game designers and a team of psychologists to evolve the look and function of Wellnest. For people whose depression doesn't respond to traditional treatment, laughing gas may be the answer. A study from Washington University and the University of Chicago finds a single 1-hour mixture of oxygen and nitrous oxide significantly improves symptoms. Researchers add the benefits can last for weeks. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, how a paintball event in Oklahoma is honoring the soldiers who took part in D-Day 77 years ago.
Plus, we'll start the weekend on another hot note, but we'll watch for thunderstorms tomorrow as well. Latest up next. After a few straggling showers and a couple of thunderstorms late last night in the very early morning hours, Mother Nature pretty much left us alone for much of the day. We can see how the Skywatch Storm Tracker didn't have much to track for much of the day other than partly to mostly sunny skies. And we can make doubly sure that we don't have anything out there. Skywatch Storm Tracker looking dry from the radar sweeps. However, this is looking to get a workout as we head into tomorrow afternoon and certainly by tomorrow evening. In the meantime, yeah, it looks nice. It doesn't feel so nice as our early taste of summer continues on. Lower 90s yesterday, back in the lower 70s this morning, and so far the warmest I've seen is 92 at Joplin Regional a couple hours ago. And not much has changed since we looked outside the 7th range line. That's a partly sunny sky. Hot and humid? Absolutely. 90 degrees feels like 97 with the dew point sitting at a muggy 72 degrees. This is pretty much the same story all across the area. Most of us in the lower 90s now. You factor in the humidity though, it feels like the upper 90s to near 100 degrees. So it's definitely hot and humid to start the evening out. Once we get closer to sunset though, we will note that mercury starting to drop and maybe a random shower or storm late tonight into the early morning hours. But it's going to be almost a warm and muggy start to the morning ahead of us with lows back around 74. Let's break down our setup because we've got quite an interesting change on the way. It's these thunderstorms developing out in eastern Montana, western North Dakota, and with additional development I'm expecting across South Dakota and Nebraska. That is ahead of a cold front that wants to try and come our way starting tomorrow. But the storms that develop tonight, they're going to stay to our north until we get past tomorrow morning, and then they'll ride around the edge of this ridge coming right toward us. So we definitely have a good shot of seeing some strong, possibly severe storms. So far, it's just a marginal risk for much of the area. With that said, Doug and I are both looking at tomorrow and thinking we wouldn't be surprised if we get upgraded to at least a low severe threat. We'll keep an eye on the storms between 3 o'clock in the afternoon at the latest tomorrow to about 11. Wind and hail, I think, are going to be the biggest issues, not to mention some more bouts of heavy rain on the way. So let's time that out with your future track forecast. Really, this evening, not much to worry about. We're quiet to start the evening out. Maybe a random shower, a quick thunderstorm overnight, but we're mainly muggy and mild with lows near 74 to start your Friday out. Looking okay to start the afternoon, but we're already pushed near 90 by lunchtime, then pushing into the mid-90s for the afternoon. So as far as the planner goes, 74 in the morning, 90 by noon, highs around 94, and we'll definitely have heat indices close to 100 with all the humidity in place tomorrow. But while we keep an eye on the temperatures, 4 o'clock, here comes that band of thunderstorms that wants to plow through. Here's 7 o'clock again, wind and hail, and mainly heavy rainfall. The biggest issues with this complex as it continues to plow on through should be pretty much out of here by 11 o'clock tomorrow night. Then we'll look a little calmer for your Saturday, maybe a random storm or two in the afternoon, and hopefully a little bit cooler behind this complex of storms on the way tomorrow. 94 Friday, 89 Saturday, lower 90 Sunday and Monday as we keep things dry. And I don't know what happened there, but we will keep temperatures in the mid 80s. I don't know why we went to another look at the radar dial, but hopefully by the middle of next week, temperatures more tolerable with highs in the mid 80s.
That'll be a welcome bit of a relief.
It certainly will.
Thanks. 77 years ago this week, the Allied forces landed on the beaches of Normandy, France, in one of the most crucial moments of World War II, D-Day. And for the past 24 years, D-Day Park in Wyandotte, Oklahoma, has been hosting week-long events featuring military reenactments and paintball battles to honor those brave soldiers. This event was started by a man whose grandfather served on D-Day. He says the event is open to anyone with the skill.
She gets to walk away knowing that she can dominate over something that, you know, most people would think that in a fight or in any kind of a situation, you know, as an 11-year-old, they wouldn't be able to have the skill to take on a 30-year-old. But in somewhere like this, if they're smart, sneaky, overcome the odds and kind of practice and enjoy what they're doing, they can truly walk away with their heads high.
Saturday will be the final day of the D-Day events. Take time now to honor a local World War II veteran. Robert Copeland served in the U.S. Army from 1942 to 45. Joplin native was stationed in the South Pacific and received a Purple Heart. And we salute Private First Class Robert Copeland, a four-state hero.
Got it.
If it feels like you're paying more for a lot of things, yeah, well, you're right. Consumer prices pushed higher again in May, capping off the biggest 12-month inflation spike since the financial crisis in 2008. Reporter Elise Preston breaks it down.
Blaze Rodolfo and his son are cutting and laying tile on a home remodeling project. The contractor says supplies are hard to come by and about 40% more expensive than they would have been pre-pandemic.
I've never seen this before. I'm in the business for 35 years.
A new government report finds prices on goods and services surged again in May. And looking back over the last 12 months, prices have risen 5%. That's the largest 12-month inflation spike since 2008.
It seems like it was easier to freeze the economy than it has been to defrost the economy.
CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger says increased consumer demand is battling it out with a shortage of supplies. That's showing up in higher prices on all kinds of everyday products. She also points to the speed of the economy's reopening.
That's actually happening faster than employers can find suitable workers, and that's causing wages to jump a little bit. And then that can also lead to a vicious cycle where the companies actually have to raise their prices in order to make the equation work.
It's all leading to inflation, which the Federal Reserve predicted as part of the pandemic recovery. They believe it will be temporary, but not everyone agrees.
This has a lot of economists worried that we are going to see a general rise of inflation for a while now, maybe not just a few months, but maybe this could persist longer.
She recommends preparing for unprecedented times by saving more, paying off debt, and maximizing your retirement contributions. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
Fewer Americans filed for unemployment benefits last week. According to the Labor Department, first-time filings for weekly jobless claims fell by 9,000 to 376,000. The number moves the needle closer to pre-pandemic levels when jobless claims averaged 200,000 per week. President Biden revoked a Trump-era attempt to ban Chinese-owned apps TikTok and WeChat. The Commerce Department will now review apps designed and developed by foreign adversaries. President Biden said officials will use an evidence-based approach to see if they pose a risk to national security. Former President Trump wanted TikTok banned last year, calling the app a national security threat, but the ban never happened after facing a series of legal challenges. More stimulus checks are on the way. The IRS says it sent out another 2.3 million payments yesterday. Some of those checks included more money for people who received less than they were entitled to in earlier payments. If you are still trying to find out at the status of your stimulus check, find out what it is, well, you can visit the IRS's website and use the Get My Payment tool. Final check with the forecast next. The CBS Evening News is next. Then on KOAM News at 6, we're going to hear more from the Crawford County Health Department about which age group they want to see vaccination rates rise. Plus, 2 people are charged in a Berry County, Missouri homicide case. And a Missouri state representative announces her bid for U.S. Senate. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. An unusual sculpture of world leaders has taken shape alongside the G7 summit in England. Mount Recycle More is sculpted with electronic waste and scrap metal. It was created to resemble every member of the summit, from British Prime Minister Boris Yeltsin to President Biden. That is the real thing there. It's estimated nearly 60 million tons of electronic waste is thrown out every year around the world. The artists want to push the leaders to take action to combat electronic waste. And if they wanted to get the attention of a lot of newscasts around the world, certainly, and that's one way to do it.
Yes, looks like it certainly did the trick.
I guess. The weather's still pretty hot out there.
Yeah, hot and humid to start this evening. Now, can't rule out a random shower storm late tonight, but we'll be hot and humid again tomorrow with highs near 94. We'll also deal with some strong, possibly severe storms Friday afternoon and the Friday night. We'll take another look at that coming up at 6 now.
Thanks for joining us. CBS Evening News is next. Of course, we're going to be right back here at 6. In the meantime, let's take care of ourselves and each other and make it a great evening.